You're listening to Simple Health Radio, the podcast about recognizing medical emergencies and promoting wellness. Your host is Dr. Emron, an experienced ER physician who has treated thousands of people just like you. Information on the show is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always talk to your doctor or go to the nearest emergency room with any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Simple Health Radio, Question of the Day. I'm your host, Dr. Emron. Today's question comes to us from Ricardo in Dallas, Texas. Ricardo asks, what causes gout? This is a great question because gout is one of the most common conditions that I see in the emergency department. Last year, over 8 million people in the United States had an episode of gout, so that's a very large number of the population. Gout is a type of arthritis where the uric acid level increases in the blood, and it causes crystals to form throughout the body. Usually it'll pick one joint, for example, the toe or a finger or the elbow, and that joint becomes hot and red and swollen, and that's the definition of arthritis, is inflammation in a joint. Gout is usually caused by uric acid levels which increase above the capacity of the kidney to filter it out. So normally we eat different foods, such as meat, seafood, alcohol, chocolate, things like that, all have a certain amount of uric acid and purines. We believe that in the cases of gout, the body is not able to filter them out quickly enough, and so the uric acid crystallizes, and that's what causes the severe pain of gout. Now, people are advised to avoid any foods that they think could be triggering it. So sometimes people go to a wedding, or they go to a buffet, or they go on vacation, and they eat foods that are very rich, things that they don't normally eat at home. When they eat a large amount of it in a short amount of time, it overloads the body, and the kidneys are not able to filter out the uric acid, and that is what triggers gout. Now, usually when I see people in the ER or in the emergency room or the urgent care, they're miserable. They're not able to walk because if it's in their foot, they can't even put their shoes on. They're not able to drive because if it's in their fingers, they can't turn the steering wheel. And sometimes they can't even get dressed if it's in their elbow or their shoulder. So we have to calm down the gout episode as quickly as possible. Normally, we give a shot of Toradol, which is an anti-inflammatory, and then we'll usually send them home with some prescriptions, including indomethacin or ibuprofen in a high dose or naproxen, and we'll add something like colchicine. Colchicine is a medicine to dissolve the uric acid and force it out, not through the kidneys, but actually through the intestine. So if the human body, the kidneys, can't filter out the uric acid, then we need to give it help, and the colchicine allows it to do that by getting rid of it in the stool. Oftentimes I'll also have an episode that lasts between 3 to 10 days, but with medication it can really shorten that duration and allow those people to get back up and running, back to work, back to school a lot faster. So again, it was a great question from Ricardo. So the causes of gout are uric acid elevation, and we believe that's linked with purines from the diet. So people should be avoiding any foods that they think are causing gout, and if it happens on a recurrent basis, even if they've been avoiding those foods, then there are medications like allopurinol, which can be taken on a daily basis to prevent gout attacks. So I hope you learned a little bit about gout from this episode. You can visit us online, simplehealthradio.com, to read the show notes, and you can also send your questions to us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for our upcoming episodes. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Visit simplehealthradio.com to read the blog, follow links mentioned on this episode, and easily share content with your family and friends. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and the 3 and Out Radio Network. Be sure to connect with Dr. Emron on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and Tumblr to send us your questions and ideas.